Whispers in the corridors. Alex Turner, a young and bright engineer, was the newest member of the research team at Goliath Tech. Armed with an MIT degree, Alex possessed an insatiable curiosity and a relentless drive to innovate. However, it wasn't long before he noticed something amiss within the company. Documents were being lost, project timelines constantly changed, and there were sudden unexplained changes in personnel. It was as if a ghost was meddling with the company's affairs. When Alex shared his observations with his colleagues, they all dismissed it as corporate bureaucracy. However, Alex couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more than what met the eye. After all, Goliath Tech was at the forefront of technology and innovation, not an entity to be swamped by bureaucracy. So, one night, Alex decided to stay back in the office and investigate. As the office emptied out, Alex found himself alone in the eerie silence. His footsteps echoed in the vast open floor plan as he made his way to the upper levels, where the higher echelons of the company had their offices. On the floor of the vice president's office, he found a small flash drive. It seemed inconspicuous, but when he inserted it into his laptop, it revealed a wealth of classified documents. They detailed the company's surreptitious plans to use their technology to violate user privacy on an unprecedented scale. Goliath Tech was not the beacon of progress and ethical conduct that it purported to be. Rather, it was a manipulative entity, ready to exploit its unsuspecting customers for its own gain. Alex was horrified, but he knew he had to expose the company's nefarious practices. Alex felt a wave of nausea wash over him as he read through the confidential documents. The plans were shocking, but what was even more distressing was the lack of regard for the millions of users who trusted Goliath Tech with their personal information. Alex knew he couldn't stand by and let this happen. The following days were a blur. Alex found himself in a high-stakes game of deception and subterfuge, all while maintaining the appearance of normality at work. He researched whistleblowing laws, leaked information protocols, and even brushed up on cyber forensics to ensure his actions couldn't be traced back to him. His heart pounded in his chest every time he opened his laptop, and his sleep was plagued with nightmares of being discovered. But despite his fears, he pressed on, driven by a sense of justice that was far stronger than his self-preservation. One day, he received an anonymous email. It contained just one line, "I know what you're doing." Fear coiled in his stomach, and for a moment, Alex thought about stopping his crusade. But then he remembered the innocent faces of his colleagues, friends, and family who trusted Goliath Tech with their data. He couldn't let them down. Alex redoubled his efforts and started working with an investigative journalist from a leading tech news portal. Together, they started piecing together a compelling story, backed by the damning evidence Alex had collected. The task was arduous, but Alex knew he had to see this through to the end. Finally, the day arrived when the story was published. Goliath Tech's shares plummeted, and several high-ranking executives, including the vice president, resigned. An extensive investigation was launched, and Alex, from his place in the shadows, watched as justice was served. News of Goliath Tech's scandal sent ripples through the tech industry. The public was outraged, and there were cries for more stringent privacy laws and transparency from tech companies. Alex, though still a silent observer, felt a sense of satisfaction. His quiet struggle in the shadows had not been in vain. But the fight was far from over. The law enforcement agencies were now investigating Goliath Tech, and there was an intense media scrutiny around the company. The investigators were looking for the source of the leak, and Alex knew he was walking on thin ice. However, things took a surprising turn when the anonymous emailer contacted him again. This time, the person revealed themselves as an ally, a senior member of the team at Goliath Tech who had been suspicious of the company's operations but had been unable to take any action. They had been keeping an eye on Alex and were impressed by his bravery. With the aid of this unexpected ally, Alex managed to steer the investigation away from him. They provided alibis, erased digital footprints, and even helped to mislead the corporate investigators. Their combined efforts ensured Alex's safety and the successful conclusion of the investigation. Goliath Tech was fined heavily, and new regulations were put in place to ensure such a flagrant breach of user trust and privacy could not happen again in the tech industry. The scandal reshaped how tech companies operated and dealt a significant blow to corporations that relied too heavily on user data without their explicit consent. As for Alex, he left Goliath Tech and started working with a non-profit organization focused on digital privacy rights. He used his skills and experience to educate the public about the importance of data security and the steps they could take to protect their online identities. He found satisfaction in his new role, knowing he was making a difference. And while his name never made the headlines, and his face remained unknown, Alex Turner became a hero in his own right, a silent guardian watching over the digital world.